passe l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Uninformed Handball Hour. It's a busy old time in the business end of the season. We're going to be talking all about the European competitions and maybe a little bit more in this Patreon special podcast. Chris O'Reilly here, joined by Brian Campion.
Hello, Chris. Thank you very much for the first name and call out there. I like that very much.
There you go. Second in the list, Brian Campion now, always. Second name in the team sheet. And Alex Kulesh.
Hey, Chris.
And Alex, I don't know if we want to share this with the listeners, but you've some big news for us all.
I think it's a good time to share since it's going to happen in a couple of days and probably will happen by the time this podcast is out. So the big news is that this is going to be my last podcast on European soil for a while. I'm going to be going to the handball promised land that is the US of A. So I'll be moving to Boston for the next while, couple of years, couple more, who knows. And I'll be getting on the ground and seeing what the American handball dream is all about, really. That's not really, it's not
the only reason you're going, right?
There's a couple of more reasons, like my real day-to-day job, primarily. But that doesn't change anything. We will still be bringing podcasts. Now it's going to be transatlantic and at weird times for at least one or two of us.
Nothing we're not used to. We've recorded at all hours. This, for example, is almost 9:30 on a Sunday night. And I was over at your place, Alex, yesterday for your farewell party and then buzzed back to Gothenburg to do the Kiel-Berlin game, which we may get to at some point.
Hold on, Chris. I have to just give you props. You were on the karaoke mic. This man was on the karaoke mic for about 3 hours, belting out everything from Bon Jovi to a lovely duet of Wannabe by the Spice Girls that me and Chris did. And then the next day, his voice was still silky smooth on the air for HBL TV.
There you go.
What a professional.
That's it. Well, I went to bed at 1 o'clock. I left at 1 o'clock, which was the key, I think. But the annoying thing is by the time I was in bed, it had magically turned into 3 o'clock because of the clocks going forward. So that kind of kicked me in the arse. But yeah, so I'm still here, but I'm not sure how much longer I'll stay awake. So let's see what we can do in the next few minutes. Let's start.
So speaking of falling asleep, let's start with Szeged.
Yes, you read my mind, Campo. And should we start with the public statement or should we start with Brian's experience there? Because you were on site for the big game, Szeged against Veszprém.
After half of handball that I think I've never really... I have seen similar things in person, but 19-7 at halftime to Veszprém was... Yeah, it just sucked all of the energy out of the arena. And I remember the build up to the game as well. The place was hopping, and I really felt like this was going to be a really, really special game. Games in the past that you see between Szeged and Veszprém are always full of fireworks. Szeged are normally always up for them, but this one was just complete. The wheels just fell off so early, and then by the end, by the middle of the half, it was just pure damage control at that stage. And I think one of you retweeted Gasper Marguch had scored more goals than the entire Szeged team after, I think, was it after, what was it? I can't remember. Oh, geez, I should have looked that up before.
I think it was, in the first half, right?
Yes, 27 minutes gone. Szeged 6, Gasper Marguch 8. Kind of sums up the first half there.
It does.
Yeah.
But what happened there? So what was it from your perspective? Were Szeged just absolutely terrible? What happened in that first?
It felt a little bit like Szeged were actually terrible. I think when Miguel Martins is having his best game for Szeged, there's something a little bit up there. Probably the best game we've ever seen playing in the blue of Szeged. And things just, I really felt like they were playing terribly, but all the balls, nothing was really dropping for them. So 50-50 chances or unlucky shots, nothing was coming off for them. And you kind of felt like everything and the bounce of the ball was just going perfectly for Veszprem. And Veszprem just lapped up that momentum and just went for it. And yeah, Gasper Marguch with 11 goals was just flying it up and down the court. And Patrick Ligatvari as well, who when Kenta Mahe got the red card, they needed someone to step up to kind of replace his threat from the backcourt. And I never thought it would be Patrick Ligatvari who's popping up. I mean, he only scored 4 goals. When I checked it afterwards, I was a bit surprised. It was only 4 because it felt like a lot more goals. Because the moment he scored the goals and how he scored them as well, absolute rockets, each and every one of them was pretty incredible.
He is our random rocket in the past and proved to be another random rocket for Veszprem in that game.
Yeah. Shall we do the dramatic reading? This is what Alex really wants from this podcast, the dramatic reading
absolutely.
Of the letter.
Chris, dive into it.
Okay.
Go first, yeah.
Shortly after the game, the fan group for Szeged published an open letter to the OTP Bank Pick Szeged team! There's a saying in sports, you can lose, but not like this. You played yesterday's derby without belief or willpower. You played lifelessly and gave up without fight. Anyone who plays like this is not worthy of wearing the Szeged jersey. That's why we asked you to take it off at the end of the match. Anyone who wears this shirt has a duty to do everything on and off the field to lead the team to victory. If the fans see this, they will be satisfied and proud of you, regardless of the result. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Yesterday you brought shame to Szeged and let down the fans. All nearly 8,000 people who were there and many more who watched the match on TV, you let us down even though we supported you. Again, even when you were 10 goals behind. Again. Whether you leave or stay at the end of the season, do you want to be remembered like this in Szeged handball history? If not, then never step on the field with this attitude again, like yesterday. Plough the field! Fight like lions, crawl and climb for every single ball. If you do that, we will be proud of you. The season is not over yet. You have the opportunity to show your true selves and skills. But if you play like yesterday, you will play the last games in front of empty stands.
Pretty inspiring, actually.
It is pretty inspiring.
I hope that's read out to the team before the second leg. I really do. Yes. But it felt like, it did feel like the crowd completely gave up on the team after that first half or in the middle of that first half. Is that what you felt in the arena, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it was the quietest I've ever felt it in the arena there. And I've been there a few times now and I've never heard it as quiet as that. You could almost hear a pin drop at some stage during the game. And people were quite angry as well. The whole second half, people were jeering and hissing, and it wasn't the best atmosphere then. So yeah, to a certain degree, I think the crowd really gave up with them after the first half. But it's such an up and down season for Szeged. I don't know. You remember that Gattuso in football? Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And I kind of really felt like that was
except a lot more shit,
a lot more shit
than good this season for Szeged. But it's a tough situation for them, I think, knowing that the coach is gone next year, knowing that probably about half the team will be gone next year. You know, I don't know what the contracts are, but I think probably a lot of them haven't been extended over the last year, knowing that Pastor is going. And just having that uncertainty is a difficult position to be in as a player, as a team, because what are you really fighting for here? You know, their minds are probably elsewhere. Their coach is probably not into it either. You know, his he was basically sacked. So it's a difficult position for Szeged. It's a difficult mental state to be in, and I think the first half just showed the frailty of that team, because you can pretend everything is okay. You can say, "Oh no, we'll still fight for this one last season, have a big heroic send off," but when truly you don't have the momentum behind you, when you don't have a future ahead of you, when you get hit by something like that Veszprem first half, you just crumble, and that's what happened.
It's weird. Like, why would you announce it as well when you don't have anything lined up either? And I think then they were kind of scrambling around trying to find someone after, like in the months following the World Championship. So it was like it's a weird thing to announce when you've no kind of plan afterwards. So it just seems a little bit scattered from the club itself, and it looks like they just kind of, in inverted commas, fired him, but then didn't have anything lined up. And so the players themselves are thinking, well, he's not going to be in charge next season, and we don't know who's going to be in charge next season. So it's all a bit up in the air, and it's not a great mindset to be playing in a team like that when you just kind of feel like, well, this is all a bit all over the place. So not great.
We have to remember Vardar winning the Champions League when they weren't getting paid, and there was like 7 of them. I mean, there are 2 ways to look at it and 2 ways to react to that.
But that's getting over adversity in a kind of, it's the team against the rest. In that case, it was the club, everything's going on, and the team just bands together and believes. This is kind of everything is up in the air. It's the team itself, the coach, if anything, it's kind of the team against the club in a different way here, the vice versa way. Where the club is actually in a safe position. It's just that every single player knows that they're not in a safe position.
But when you think back to that Vardar team who won the Champions League, and the characters in that dressing room as well. Can you think of someone in that Szeged dressing room who would kind of stand up and band all those guys together? Because we talked about it before, there seems to be kind of a lack of someone who's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. And it's not going to be someone like Richard Bodo, for example. I mean, who is it going to be? Like, who would you look to in that dressing room and think who's going to, in those difficult times, kind of band the group together? Because I can't really think of a personality in there.
Like Bombach, you'd think would. Roland Mikler he's like the leader of the Hungarian national team as well, and this kind of iconic figure. You feel like they maybe Ben Sabanhidi as well. You'd expect to be a leader in the team.
I think Banhidi's downfall, or his loss of form over the last year, due to injuries, due to a lot of stop and starts, has also really contributed here. He scored 0 goals. If anything, Miklas Rosta is the better line player for Szeged this season, and has been. And their reliance on Banhidi in the past, and to kind of dictate their style of play. Without him there, they seem to not have a backup. Obviously, Dejan Bombach is not the player he used to be. And then you kind of look around that squad, and who's there? Kent Tunninson, we have it. When Garcianda has taken 9 shots for you, something's.
We've had this conversation before. That's the end of Szeged for this season. That'll be the end of us and Szeged until they beat Veszprem and win the league at the end of the season, as they do.
Just one last point on this game, but actually on Veszprem, because we haven't talked about Veszprem. It was interesting to see Remli playing for Veszprem in the Champions League now. He's played, obviously, in the league for them, but it's not games that are very easily accessible. So it was interesting to see his role in it. And I think he didn't have a barnstormer of a game. He scored 4 goals, I think, from 9 shots. And yeah, it's not like he really took over. But I think, as you said, Brian, as well, with Mahig and that red card, Remili brings this playmaking ability to the squad. Even when he's playing right back, he's still a really good playmaker, and he can go into the center and do his thing. And I think that's a gap that probably Veszprem needed filled, because apart from they don't really have a creator in that backcourt. Lagerschmidt is more of a finisher. Eldera is just a one-on-one beast as opposed to a creative presence. And I think Remily, not just being left-handed, because that's what they really needed. They needed a left-hander. But I think that playmaking ability could be really good for Veszprem going forward. So, something to look out for. And I think it was a hopeful Champions League debut for him.
Yeah, and also quite a calming influence of some of the players there. When I was courtside with him, he's doing so much talking to some of the players, and kind of some players are about to rush off, and he was like, "No, look, we're winning by like 79 goals. Relax, cool the jets here a little bit." So I think he has a good influence on some of the younger players in the team as well. So he's kind of bringing that experience with them.
So Veszprem beat Szeged by 13. Kiel, we don't need to talk about that game against Dinamo Bucuresti. I thought it'd be closer.
Yeah.
Disappointing, 41-28. What wasn't disappointing? I said we're not talking about the Kiel Dinamo Bucuresti game. Fuck that shit. That's why. Aalborg, Gee. I thought you'd be like gagging for it, Alex.
It was the game of the round. It was the game that
It was fantastic.
saved the round, I would say. Although, Plotzke was a fantastic game. A fantastic game.
Yeah.
It was a draw. It was great fans there. But the storylines in Gay and Aalborg were fantastic. And Marius Monk.
Marinus Monk.
What the hell?
Brilliant.